So, hi everyone, my name is Vadim, and today we're going to talk about networking as an introvert CTO. So, it might not be a surprise for you that I'm introverted. I think it's quite popular when you're a software engineer, you're used to dealing with computers rather than people. So, it was actually quite a radical turn for me. So until I started leading teams, I was not really present in any meetups or any event or gatherings. So when I went to my first event in Switzerland, I just came to Switzerland basically, and I did not know the language quite well. So imagine me, a person who speaks German and English. And I go to an event and everyone is speaking Swiss German, which is a completely different language. I still don't understand it completely. I mean, like when I hear it, I do understand what it means, but I cannot really speak it. So yeah, imagine me coming to an event, sorry, and apologies. Imagine me coming to an event. I have zero knowledge about the language that's being spoken, and I try to blend in. So I join a group of people who are talking about God knows why. I try to start a conversation in English. They reply in English. We exchange some sentences, but then they switch back to Swiss German. And then it's again kind of awkward when I'm standing there and I don't really know what to say, and I don't know where the discussion is going. So it felt... I must say, it always felt kind of awkward. And yeah, it was a long time ago, but still the memory of that event remains, and it's not one of my fondest memories. But since then, I think I've grown a lot in terms of communication with people. So if you're such a developer, if you still have issues with dealing with people when you go to different meetups, then this video is for you, because we're going to talk about some tips and tricks that I developed for myself, and I'm going to share with you today so that we can grow together, basically. Before we start, I'd like to really mention that I'm not a pro at networking. I am not a networking guy. That's not my main skill. I can do it decently enough so that I can blend into like different conversations in different places, but I would never add this as my skill or something that I'm proud of. It's more like I can do this, I can survive that environment, I can maybe make a few good connections, but this is not really my primary skill. Let's take a look back how the sales or networking happened before the year 2024. When I'm recording this, like 10 or 20 years ago, basically the goal was to like go to an event. As someone with a sales personality, you would meet a lot of people, make a lot of shallow connections, gather a lot of cards to like call back later or set up follow-up meetings. But the goal was to like gather as many cards as you can so that you can like boast about, okay, I've talked with like 50 people and now I'm going to call them and see how many of them convert to a client. So that was how it was done before. But nowadays, I have a feeling that the sales cycle has changed a bit. It's gotten bigger or longer. And I'm talking from a personal experience. I'm not quite sure how you sell, for example, how you go to VCs to sell your SaaS. I've never done it, but in my world, in a development agency world, the sales cycle has gotten longer by a huge margin. And nowadays, we're trying like to build really partnerships with different companies. So if before it was like client to developer relationships, now it's more like an equal partners relationship where we're both trying to grow, trying to build something amazing. So I think also that's why the deeper the connection, the longer the client the client will stay with you, and the better the partnership will be. And you also know that introversion comes with its own set of powers. Like we introverts have a lot of empathy. We understand how people feel, how we can help them, and we're really good at listening to other people. And that's also I consider our our skill, where we can really listen and really understand what they're saying, and then be able to assist them in some way. So I remember this one time at some event, I don't remember what was about, but I met a developer. Again, it was more of I think it was more of a sales event, or like a typical networking type event where people like go to network or just to meet other people. And I met this other developer where we kind of started like the usual hi, what are you doing like professionally, and then we kind of dived into AI and the future of machine learning and stuff, and then we just geeked out for the next 3 hours, which was kind of amazing. So I think that's the only connection that I've made during that evening, but we still talk. So even after, I don't know, like 4 years since that event, we still talk, we still keep in touch. So I'd like to just emphasize that making deep connections is more important than the numbers game that you're probably trying to play. So next time you're at the event, remember that it's not a numbers game, it's more of like a quality game and the deepness of the connection game. So imagine you're going to an event. You should not be expecting to make friends immediately. You should not even expect to get to know anyone immediately, because again, there's going to be quite a bit of people, quite a lot of interesting people, and you're probably not the most interesting person in the room. There's always these charismatic, interesting people in the room where everyone tends to converge around, and I must be honest, I'm not one of them, and chances are you're also not one of them, but still that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to make any connections. You're going to be able, but again, you should not go with any expectations to the event. Like go there to have fun, go there to enjoy yourself, maybe some food, some drinks, and just to see, like, think of it as an adventure where you're going to meet other people, and that works for me. So now that we are at the event, I have some principles that I'd like to follow when I'm at any event. Basically, I keep those in mind because it helps me build. Like I have principles that help me build deeper connections. So my first principle is making other people feel accepted. And what I mean by this is that imagine you walk into a room and everyone looks at you and judges you, and you kind of just want to be accepted by the group. And now imagine you're already at the event and there's people coming to the event who feel that way. What would you do? Like, what would you do to help them feel more comfortable? The easiest thing to do is to approach them and just tell them that we're all here struggling as you are. We're all here feeling uncomfortable with the huge amount of people around us, and basically position yourself as, I've got your back. Let's talk. Let's talk about something that interests you. Tell me more about yourself. And this way, you're already basically approaching this from the position of, I'm going to provide value. I'm going to help these people feel less awkward. And that's already a good point to start, at least for me. And I use that as again, it's easier for me to imagine in my head that, okay, I see someone who's as awkward as I am, and I'm going to just be helpful and approach them and strike a conversation so we both feel less awkward. And yeah. The second principle that I follow is that you're the one who should give value first. And you should not assume the networking game as a transactional game. It's not like you give and they give back. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In the game of networking, it's mostly like you give, and some of them will give exponentially more than you've given them. And that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to be helpful to a lot of people and figure out how you can provide value to them, and without assuming that you're going to get something in return, because big chances are that you're not going to get anything in return. But that's okay. We're not expecting anyone to give us anything back. We're trying to build connections, and the connection can only build when you do not assume they're transactional, because then it's not a connection. It's like it's a transaction. So my third principle is do not overthink it. I have anxiety, and it's kind of hard for me to not overthink it. Even though I wrote the article, I'm recording this video and telling you not to overthink it. I understand how you feel. Believe me, I do. And before I even walk into a room, I already know all the things that will go wrong. At least I assume that I know them. And you need to understand that networking is not coding. It's not deterministic. You cannot assume, okay, given output X, I'm going to always get output Y. There's so many factors, there's so many variables at play that you cannot really predict what's going to happen. So why predict something which you have zero chances of predicting? And that's basically my approach. So I assume I'm already helpless at predicting stuff when it comes to human interactions, because there's so many variables to take into account when you're thinking about all the scenarios that I just don't do it. I consciously stop myself and I tell myself, this is impossible. You cannot calculate that. It's not feasible for you to understand all the bad scenarios that can go wrong. So I just don't do it. And it's easier said than done. But really, why calculate something which is impossible to calculate? Okay, now we're going to talk about my tactics of survival. And I understand completely. You're a developer. I'm a developer. And it's much easier for us to sit at the computer, code, and not have to deal with all the people surrounding us, or like surrounding the business you're at. But still, if you want to grow, I think, like, again, in the video that I've recorded, I think a few days back, coding is just 20 or 30% of your day job at most. As you grow as a developer, as you grow as an expert, the coding part gets smaller and smaller, and the more focus you need to put onto things outside of coding. Even if you're moving into architectural position, if you imagine yourself as an code architect or like infrastructure architect in the future, you're still gonna code less than you're coding today, and you're gonna be dealing with people a lot. And that's one of the things that I think we should focus on when growing as developers. So now we're going to talk about surviving. So I'm going to give you like a skill set. Well, not a skill set, it's like a tool, or like tools that I use to survive people interactions when I go to an event. So the first thing is that please smile. A smile goes 1,000 miles, and I'm not talking about like a creepy smile, but more like a friendly. So imagine you met this old friend of yours, and you have this warm feeling inside yourself. And imagine that when you're meeting every person, and just smile a bit and enjoy the moment. Try to think of this as an adventure. Again, this is an opportunity for you to grow and meet other people. This is a great opportunity for you to grow and get better at interacting with people. The second tool is asking questions. So you might think that when you go to an event, you should talk a lot and talk a lot about yourself and explain what you're doing and brag and whatever. No. Actually, it's quite straightforward. Ask questions a lot. And people like talking about themselves. So again, some people will probably ask you questions where you're going to have to talk about yourself. But mostly you need to assume that you'll need to get to know the person better. So assume just like I'm going to need to ask questions, so that's what I'm doing. If they ask you back, great. If not, doesn't matter. You're there to ask questions, to get to know them and build a connection, because when you get like you're finding out more about them as people, then you're basically like building slowly a connection. And basically ask questions. People love talking about themselves, and while you're listening to them, see something that you can catch on and expand on that topic. So, for example, if someone starts that they work at some big corporation and they're doing AI, and during their off time they enjoy baseball, then and you also enjoy baseball, then jump on that baseball thing. Talk about baseball. You don't have to talk about work all the time. You can also talk about other stuff. So after you finished asking them questions, if you have the feeling that the conversation has died down a bit and the common ground was already explored, you talked about the things that interest you both, and you feel like, okay, it's getting weird a bit, I think it's about time to end the conversation. And you don't have to be weird a bit. You don't have to fake a phone call that someone's calling you, or you don't have to fake a text message that you received, like your uptime monitoring that the service is down, now you need to go bring it back up. Absolutely not. Thank them for a good conversation. Be polite and tell them, okay, if you enjoy the conversation, ask them to connect later or for some contact details, or just be polite about saying that, okay, this was a great talk to you later. That's it. There's zero pressure for you to continue the conversation if you don't feel like, if you feel that it's gotten to the point where there's nothing more to discuss. So just stop it gracefully and go to the next one, or go grab some food, or go grab some drinks, or just finish the night. So yeah. The next biggest thing that you need to keep in mind, after you're basically done with the conversation, you've moved on, you're already at your home or in the hotel, it's very, very important to follow up. And why it's important is because people tend to forget stuff. And if you like a simple, like, hey, John, like we talked yesterday about baseball, and I know you're working like a big corporation and you're doing X, Y, Z, and I'm also in that field. So it was nice meeting you. And then he replies to you something, or he or she, and then you can schedule another follow-up coffee, like in a month or so, or in a week, depending on like how you want to approach this. And that's it. You basically have a connection. At that point, you have a solid connection that you can expand. You can meet for more coffees. You can invite them to other events. And you're done. You're done with networking. That's it. It's not that hard. So if we summarize how you need to approach this, is that you go to an event. Or like you get invited to an event, or you organize yourself an event, but you end up in a situation where there's a lot of interesting people that you can meet that you have never met before, and there's food, maybe there's drinks. That's the first step. The second step is to approach someone, smile, say hi, and introduce yourself, and ask them what are they doing professionally. So the conversation has started. Good job until now. Second is that third point is that you start asking questions. You start being like genuinely interesting in what they have to say, and try to find common ground. That's the most important part during the conversation. You need to find something that you have both in common. If there's nothing, then you're going to continue to step whatever when we end the conversation. So now you listen to the conversation, you share your experiences. Listen, ask, share, listen. So until you're basically tired, or you feel that the conversation has run dry, then you end gracefully. You say, okay, this was great talking to you. If you enjoyed the talk, ask them contact details. If not, just, nice talking to you. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. And then you go back to the hotel, or you can still grab some food or some drinks, whatever, before you go to hotel. And then you go to hotel, and then you follow up with the ones that you found very interesting, so that it's still fresh in your mind how you've met, what you discussed, and then you can just like write down a few lines and send it out immediately. And then you're done. That's the whole process. There's nothing more to be done. This is the whole networking can be summarized in 5 steps. So good job. So we've talked about traditional ways of networking. So since I've started writing my blog, I think 2 years ago now, in 2020, when was it? I think start of 2022. Yes. And it was, I never really expected something to happen of it. I just liked writing. I still do like writing. I still have my newsletter, and I started writing about everything that about my experience, and sharing my what I do, how I do it, and why I do it. And it turned out that it's a great way to network. Who would have thought, right? And also actually YouTube videos. So now I started this YouTube channel a few days ago, and I'm not expecting anything to come out of it. Like, I have zero expectations that it's going to grow or whatever. I'm not expecting anything. Like, I'm just enjoying talking with you and letting you know my thoughts. And also, I'd like to tell you to subscribe and to hit that like button. And I must say, like, it feels kind of warm inside when I tell you that, because I never expect myself to record YouTube videos. So yeah, basically I started writing, and eventually people started contacting me. Like, some were developers who were eager to understand about their career, how they can get better. And then there were some startups who were like eager to understand, okay, how can they get to the MVP faster. And there were also like upscale startups where they needed some consultations on their current stack, and they had teams in India, in Pakistan, to really understand how the development was going around. They had like not much technical knowledge, so I helped them, and then again this started like building on top of itself, and people started referring to me. I had this case where a person referred me to a startup because they asked him to be the CTO, and was like, no, but I know a guy. And he just read my articles, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna recommend this person to this startup because he found my content great. And that's actually quite fascinating, because if you do good work, it tends to like propagate itself quite well. So it was fascinating to me that people read my blog, people watch my videos, people find me on internet and then approach me, and it worked wonders for me. So nowadays I really get a few inquiries per week in like different topics, but still I'm getting people coming to me, which is a great way. Also something for you to do. I think it's great when software developers are writing about stuff, when they're sharing their expertise. I think that's great in many ways, but we're going to focus now on the networking part, because you write and people find you and people come to you because they already know something about you. They already know that you're, for example, an expert in this domain, and then they can approach you. And there's billions of people who are interested in different topics. So if you start writing, for example, you like building games, and you write about building games, there's going to be so many people that are coming to you for advice, for collaborations, because, again, they already know that you're an expert. They read your content, they saw your videos, they heard your podcast or whatever, and they can already judge a bit judge your skill set, and then they can approach you to work together, to do some collaboration. So I think this is a great way to grow your network. Nowadays, I really appreciate all the people who are like following me on LinkedIn and sending me direct messages there also, because again, like you never know who's gonna be your champion. You never know who's gonna refer you to someone else. So I try to be as valuable to everyone who comes to me as I can, because then it doesn't cost me that much to be helpful to everyone, and the value that I get from it is exponentially bigger than I provide them. So I think this is it. I've covered most of the topics about being an introvert and networking as an introvert CTO. So if you have any questions, do post them in the comments. And again, I appreciate that you watched till the end. I'm still new to this thing. I'm not quite sure how this is going to end up, like in terms of quality, sound quality, video quality. I'm still experimenting a bit, so please bear with me. And thanks very much for watching, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.